Hey guys, this is Miss Mo. We're on the final exam review. Let's look at number 55. Okay, on number 55, first let's remember things about exponents. Something is called the hundred spot because 100 is 10 squared. The 10 spot is called 10 to the 1. Ones is 10 to the 0. Tenth with the decimal is 10 to the -1, and hundredth with the decimal is 10 to the -2. I think these are backwards. I was supposed to write them backwards, but it's okay. Okay, and this 10 to the 0, that's the same thing as nothing. Then this 10 to the 1 is the same thing as 10. Okay, so let's come up with part A. Part A says we're going to have a 10 to the 3rd, and we're going to have a 7 in its spot. Then in 10 squared, we're going to have a 6. Then in 10 to the 1, 10 to the 1 is the same thing as 10, and part A says we have a 5 with it. Okay, then our next spot is 10 to the 0, or just nothing. So let's look in here. Do we see anything that is not attached to a times 10? Times 10. Oh, here she is, 9. She's not attached to anything times 10 related. So we're going to say she's 9 times 10 to the 0. And that shows me we put the 9 in the 1 spot. So we have 7,659 point, then 10 to the -1 comes first, and then 10 to the -2. So 10 to the -1 has an 8 in it, then 10 to the -2 has a 3 in it. So we have 7,659.83. Okay, let's look at part B. Okay, part B has 10 to the 4th first, and that's a 2. But then we're missing 10 to the 3rd, 10 squared, 10 to the 1, 10 to the 0, 10 to the -1, because look, it jumps from 10 to the 4 to 10 to the -2. So everything in between that it skipped, like 10 to the 3 has a 0, 10 to the 2 has a 0, 10 to the 1, 0, 0, 0. Oh, and the decimale happens in between 10 to the 0 and 10 to the -1. So here's 10 to the 0 and 10 to the -1, and there's decimale. Okay, then it says we have, in the 10 to the -2 spot, we have a 4. Then 10 to the -3 spot, we have a 3. So it should be 2, 20,000, and 043. Yay. Okay, let's look at part C. First, it has 10 to the 4, and that has a 3 in it. But then 10 to the 3 is a 0. And we keep going. It looks like part C does not have a 10 to the -1 or a 2, but it does have a 3. So we put a 3 in 10 to the 4th. We're going to put a 0 in everything else. And then in that -3, we're going to put a 5. So we get, what does that look like? 30,000.005? Yeah. Okay, let's look at part D. Part D is all negative exponents, and it has 10 to the -6. Then we're missing 10 to the -5, then 10 to the -4, -3. Okay, so let's see what we have here. It says we have a 10 to the -6, but there's nothing in front of it. Well, that's kind of like saying 1 times that. Okay, 10 to the -4. Again, we don't have anything in front of that, so it's 1 times that. Then 10 to the negative 2, we don't have anything in front of that, so it's 1 times that. And then everything else is zeros. So we should have 0.01, 01, 01. Yep, we do. Okay, so let's go over this. On number 55, if you're missing like a 10 to the 1, 10 to the 2, blah, 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 you put a 0, like what we did here. Okay, but if you're missing the big fat number in front that's multiplying, you put a 1. Like here, I'm missing a big fat number in front of those 10s that are multiplying, so I had to put a 1. Yay! Okay, let's keep going now. Keep going. 59, it says round to the nearest 100. Oh, okay, this is lame. Okay, so let's see here. 572.777. And it says round to the nearest 100th. Well, this first sucker is 10th. The next sucker is 100th. So that's what we're going to figure out, whether it needs to go up or rest. Okay, we're going to look at this 7. And it's 5 or more. So we're going to up the score of that 7 in the 100th spot. So it becomes 572.7 up the score, 8. And then there's a 0 after it, but technically we don't have to write the 0. But if you want to, go for it. Okay, next for the 10th, that's 572.777. Okay, so the 10th spot is that first spot after the decimal. So then we're going to eyeball that number to the left of it. Or sorry, eyeball the number to the right of it. And it's a 7. And 5 or more, we got to up the score of that number in the 10th spot. So it's going to become 572. Point up that score to an 8. And then everything after it goes to zeros. Okay, the next one says to the nearest unit. Okay, so 572.777. Okay, to the nearest unit means the nearest whole number. So when I look at this 7 next to it, I see, oh gosh, I gotta up the score. Because 5 or more up the score. So that makes 573. And then you can keep going yourself. Okay, let's look at number 60. It says convert this decimal to a fraction. Okay, so first what we're going to say is that x is this number. Okay, now we're going to count how many spots are underneath this bar. And there's 2. As in, it goes to 10 to the 2, negative 2, or it's 100th. I don't know how to spell that. Oops. Okay, yeah, I spelled it real wrong. Okay, either way, this is in the 100th spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both by 100. So x times 100 is 100x. 4.63 times 100. It moves the decimal over twice to the right, but that 63 keeps going on and on and on and on. So we get 463.63 goes on and on and on with a bar. Okay, now we're going to subtract them. So we're going to take this 100x equals 463.63 repeat. And we're going to subtract off this OG guy. So let's subtract off that x on the left, and on the right, subtract off that 4.63 repeat. And when we do, 100 minus 1 is 99. And this 463 is 458. And the repeats cancel. Then to get x by itself, you divide by 99 and try and reduce if you can. So let's see if you can divide these by maybe 3. I think I did this wrong. 463 minus 4. Oh, this is supposed to be 459. Moron. Okay. Okay, now that I've fixed it, I can divide it by 9. And we get 51 over 11. Yay! Okay, done. Woohoo!